Hello, I'm Nan Simonson. I'm a nationally board certified health and wellness coach with a lifestyle medical practice. We've just changed names to Blue Zones Health. And I help people get well using lifestyle as medicine. And recently, I became, I'm going to say the patient, because I'm doing a protocol that isn't what, if you've watched my other videos, I've taught. What I've taught now for 6 years is what I do, and that is whole food, plant-based, using the pillars of health, which whole food, plant-based, the dietary style or lifestyle is one of the pillars of health as laid out by the College of Lifestyle Medicine. And they are certifying doctors in lifestyle medicine because most doctors don't practice this way. Think about it. You go to a doctor, you don't have a lot of time. They say, what's wrong? You tell them, what do they do? Take this, or let's get an x-ray. Let's do it. Well, an x-ray, if you need one, makes sense, but let's do this procedure. It is very seldom discussed what could have gotten you there. And that's what lifestyle medicine does. And so the pillars of lifestyle medicine include getting enough sleep, de-stressing on a regular basis, community in your life, movement in your life, as well as whole food plant-based diet, and staying away from addictive substances, reducing their use or eliminating them. So that's what I teach, and that's what I've taught now for 6 years. Well, I became the patient because I got a lab test, let's see, probably 5, 6 weeks ago, that basically backed up what I've seen now for over 6 years. And that is that although I'm completely symptom-free, as a matter of fact, I feel healthier than I have in decades, and I'm just a few months from turning 74. The lab work showed that I had, those red marks on lab work, you don't want to see them. Well, I have 3 of them, and they just stay there, and they kind of make me crazy. One is a thyroglobulin antibody, super high. The other one is a rheumatoid arthritis, an RA antibody, high. And then something called a SED rate. It's a generalized inflammation marker, kind of like C-reactive protein that all doctors run tests for. SED rate most don't really bother with. And yet it was run over 6 years ago. It was high then. It has stayed high. But that is an inflammatory marker, usually indicating some cancers, but also autoimmune diseases. Well, that's what I have. Well, I was just at a conference full of doctors, and I was sitting next to a doctor who actually the owner of True North, Dr. Goldhammer, and his clinic was the first one that measured that and saw that I had the high SED rate. And I told him, I still have a high one. It's 47. It should be at the very max 30, but better in the 20s. And he said, you really should look into lowering that. And there were 2 ways I knew I could lower it, because I've seen rheumatologists, and every rheumatologist finally said, yeah, don't know what that's. Well, I had thousands and thousands, 2 panels of 5,000 each, 6 months apart, trying to figure out what hidden weird thing I might have to explain that. Nothing came back except the autoimmune. And so they said, well, when you start getting symptoms, come back. You're almost dead, let us know. And so he said, you could do an extended water fast that would help, or make it. We've seen it reversed with an extended water fast. But I had also just heard from Dr. Goldner. She was also at that conference speaking, and her Goodbye Lupus and Goodbye Autoimmune protocols have seen the reversal of far worse autoimmune diseases than Hashimoto's thyroiditis, or Well, rheumatoid arthritis can be pretty serious. But things like lupus and Sjogren's and some of the ones that no doctor would say you can reverse and has seen remarkable repeated results. So I saw my doctor a few days later to talk about this, and I said, I can fast or I can do her program. He said, why don't you do the program? That's a less radical because after all, you're eating. And then we need to starve you. We can do that. And he really recommended I not do the fast at that time and recommended that I do her protocol. So what we're talking about is Goodbye Lupus, the book that Dr. Brook Goldner wrote in 2015. And then the backup to that, Goodbye Autoimmune, which she wrote 4 years later when she took on being an online Zoom, or it was actually Skype at that time, practice of helping people, hundreds and then ultimately thousands of people, reverse their autoimmune and other diseases, including take care of cardiovascular problems, retinopathy, degenerative disc disease when it's not something that inflammation, anti-inflammation can help. No, can't help. Yeah. Uh, she wrote this 4 years later with additional materials because this is about the food protocol. This is about the lifestyle protocol. She is also certified as a psychiatrist as well as a neurologist. And so she's interestingly very qualified to help people with physiology. She's an MD and psychology, and she does that in her work. Her basic food protocol, and this is why I say that this isn't something that I normally teach and train on, because whole food plant-based means exactly that. It's basically vegan, but it's food as close to nature as possible, and usually salt, oil, and sugar free or light, meaning I eat no sugar, but I have a little bit of oil occasionally, but not in most of my cooking. And the salt, oh, I use a little bit of salt, but those with cardiovascular disease should use none. And her basic protocol says this: 100% raw, no steamed, everything raw. The only fat source is going to come from chia seeds, flaxseed oil, or chia seed oil. The flaxseed oil is much easier to find, and avocados. I just ate 2 avocados yesterday. I had one full one for lunch. I'll probably have a half or a whole one for dinner. The salad dressing on my salad, huge salad today, was made with flaxseed oil. What was the point of that? Omega-3 fatty acids. And then a whole pound of cruciferous vegetables per day, not just greens. Spinach is okay, but also cruciferous vegetables, including arugula, cauliflower, broccoli, watercress, kale, cabbage, and a lot of the others. And any other vegetables don't count for the cruciferous, but they count toward an aim of at least a pound and a half of raw vegetables a day. So this is hyper nourishing, the most nourishing foods you can eat right now, the most anti-inflammatory, the most loaded with polyphenols and nutrients and vitamins and minerals and phytochemicals are the leafy greens that are raw. As her research has shown, anything steamed or cooked is going to be usually about 30% less nourishing. And if we're going for the most nourishing, therefore you go raw. A full handful of chia or flax seeds, that's part of the protocol, but she's more specific to say aim for at least a half a cup a day. That's what I do. Of chia or flax ground fresh, or in salads, or freshly blended into a smoothie. And that's what I do. I take that bundle and I put it in a smoothie every morning, not the extra half pound, but a full pound. It's easy to do it in the bags. I use 6-ounce bag of spinach, a half of a 10-ounce bag of kale, and so that's an extra 5 ounces. And then the extra 4 ounces to get to, or no, and then some I'm now doing sprouts, so an ounce of sprouts and then 4 ounces of broccoli. That's rather cruciferous. That adds a bit of a oof to it. And then fruit is used to make the smoothie or to eat, to make it taste better, but no more than 25% by weight. So it's a couple of bananas and some mango in my case. Other people like other things like apples or whatever. And then at least 96 ounces of water a day. Better yet, if you're a larger person, that would be for a smaller person. If you're over 128 pounds, that's not a particularly large person, then it's an ounce a pound to that 1 gallon mark. And she is a 47-year-old woman. She's built like Celine Dion, very tall, very slender. And the reason I say that is at the conference, she had on the sleek white suit. She looked very, very elegant and beautiful. And I thought to myself, you look like you're ready to belt out a song, and told her myself that she looked like Celine Dion. And she has been on this protocol since, well, let me put it this way. She used this protocol 19 years ago to recover from 12 years of lupus that was to kill her. She was told that she was on the way to dialysis, that she may not live another 3 years. She was a very, very sick person. And yet she reversed it with this dietary protocol. So having heard that, knowing that I have a minuscule amount of a challenge compared to what she had, and my doctor's thumbs up, I decided to do her protocol. I heard her say once, we live into what we think is possible. And I am living into what I think is possible here. I'm at week number 4. I've been doing this now for 4 full weeks. I have 2 more lab work set up to compare the 2 labs to see what even 6 weeks can do. I'll tell you what it's done already. About a year ago, I tore, it was after a half marathon, but it wasn't caused by the half marathon. I got, and this was verified by an MRI, I got a compound multiple tear bilateral meniscus tears in my right knee. And I have not run since then. It hurts too much. If I stand too much, they hurt. It's hard to bend it. By the evening, especially if I've been standing, when my husband and I take our half an hour walk, gentle walk, that's our last exercise of the day. I exercise in the morning. Now I cycle. I cycle like crazy every morning because it doesn't hurt the knee. Well, I wasn't able to walk on it. And there were a couple of times where he had to come and get me because I couldn't walk any further. In this last week, that pain has completely gone away. I had something going on with a tendon in my elbow, and that is 100% gone. And that wasn't what I was considering, but the whole point is that this protocol, this dietary protocol, is anti-inflammatory, about as anti-inflammatory as you can get. So she followed all of these with this book, Goodbye Lupus, Hello Delicious. And I, on my YouTube channel, YouTube Nan Simonson, have done a number of videos showing the production of a recipe in there. I have another one I'll post tomorrow. But all of this has left us and her tipping our hat to Thomas Tadlock. He was the person that married her, saying, I'd rather have 3 years with you than a lifetime with somebody else, very romantic. At Carnegie Mellon, she was going for her medical degree. He was going for a master's degree in science. And it was the physiology of movement or athletics or something that I still haven't gotten straight yet. But he learned about metabolism and the body. Miracle Metabolism is the name of his book. And she said to him, because they were going to go to Hawaii for the wedding, I want to be really buff and trim, because she was more round than she wanted to be. And he put her on the 3-month protocol, all of what I've just said, plus exercise. And they got married, everything was great. They came back. She needed to have some new labs. And the doctor, it was a new doctor and new labs. And the doctor said, "You don't have lupus. I don't know what you're talking about." Now, that's remarkable. They thought, wow, how did that happen? Maybe happiness made me go into remission. And then she was told, when her labs and the proof was there that she had lupus, prior to that, she had a baby and she was told, "You cannot, should not, may not get pregnant, or you will probably miscarry, but you will also probably die. It's going to bring back the lupus." Never happened. She had her baby that she raised vegan, and throughout pregnancy was in on this protocol, and baby was healthy. A couple of years later, 4 years, she had another one. That's when the two of them put their heads together and said, "You know what? It was that 3-month period that turned this around." They started experimenting with people who had autoimmune diseases for free. They were going to, she was an MD, he was a master's in science, had a master's in science, and they experimented with people, and more people became not only symptom-free, but disease-free. Disease-free means get that antibody out of there. That's when I heard that. That's when I said, it's time to get rid of the antibodies. I'm not gonna keep waiting for them to blow up into some nasty thing that they say you should have gotten that earlier. And that's the story. Okay, so the title of this talk, I think I cut myself off midstream and had a point, but I think you get the gist of this. Oh, the rest of that story. So they proved to themselves that they had something here. And then she started working with patients with this protocol and saw that as a doctor, evaluating labs, keeping track of everything and making sure they did it safely, that they could still depend on results, not just happenstance, again and again and again. And this has gone on now for, oh, how long has she been doing this? Well, let's say well, I believe it's since she wrote her first book, 2015, and that's why, no, since before that. That's why she wrote Goodbye Lupus. She realized she had an answer to something beyond just being plant-based, because she had been a vegetarian for years and years, not whole food plant-based, but a vegetarian. Well, no, let me put, yeah. And as a vegetarian, she also had eggs and meat, and he took her off. I mean, eggs and dairy, and he took her off of all of that. And so she proved to herself, they proved to themselves, and the rest is history. She has become hugely influential because of the results she gets. And that's what, when somebody says to her, because in my world, whole food, plant-based, SOS free, we're telling people don't put any salt, or very little if you don't have a issue with it. She says use a teaspoon of salt a day. Get from somewhere a teaspoon of salt, because with 96 ounces, or a gallon of water, 128 ounces, you are flushing out the sodium, the electrolytes in your body, and you could have a problem with that. So she adds that to the protocol. They add, because of, and I'll explain to you how that came about, because of the power of omega-3 fatty acids, they add oil, i.e. the flaxseed oil, in case someone can't take because of the roughage of flax and or chia seeds. They add the use of the flaxseed oil in some recipes because it's even stronger than the seeds. 3 tablespoons of flaxseed oil has as much omega-3 fatty acids, and you'll hear why this is important, as a half a cup of chia and flax, either one, or I just mix them together for the half a cup. And then that massive amount of water keeps the whole thing working, because if everything was constricted, in other words, dehydrated, nothing would be able to get around. And that's what I was saying earlier, results, results, results. When she's questioned in any of these arenas, she will simply say, my results show that this is something that is helping people recover consistently. And she will say, when somebody says to her, but my doctor said you shouldn't do this, this, or this, she'll say, have him explain the results he's gotten by not doing that. In other words, is he getting results? I have results. You can't argue with that, and that's how I feel about it. So my question was, can Dr. Goldner's hyper-nourishment, now that is that little, I was going to show you my little cheat sheet. That was not the full protocol. That is simply the food part of it. In other words, 1 pound of raw green vegetables, mostly cruciferous, you heard about that, a half a cup or a handful or 3 tablespoons of flaxseed oil a day, or chia seed, flaxseed, or the oil, a half a pound more any way you wanted, or more, of vegetables of any kind, fruit no more than 25% by weight, so it would be a pound of fruit to, no, wait, is that true? No, it's not. It says by weight, and that's not true. What Dr. Goldner has explained, and this will show you why I know that's not true, is that a pound of fruit is equivalent in volume to a pound of cruciferous and greens. And that means that you can put a pound of fruit. She uses 2 bananas in hers and a bunch of fruit. And that comes to about a pound. I've played around with this over that pound of greens. Now, what am I talking about with smoothies? She didn't have smoothies when she was on this protocol. She simply ate all of that. But when they tried to get people to eat all of that, that's when they ran into trouble. And so they came up with the smoothie idea, these tasty smoothies that one could drink throughout the day and eat that amount of food rather comfortably and get it in raw every day on a daily basis, highly nourishing us at a cellular level, and adding exercise, because then everything's pumping through the body, and that the lymphatic system is working. Without exercise, everything kind of sits and waits for maybe either gravity or some very gentle movement to get anything moving. You need to move your body more exuberantly than that. So that's the protocol. My question, can Dr. Goldner's hyper-nourishment benefit any diet? Because I want to say to you something that I've learned from this. Again, I'm 4 weeks along. I already see results that would make me very happy and would keep me hyper-nourishing with the drink, even though I may, after a while, start adding back my other whole foods that are plant-based, like beans and grains and steamed vegetables and stir fries and soups, and tofus, with, again, low salt, oil, sugar, except for my honoring the omega-3 fatty acids, which I would continue to do, and you'll hear why. So if you're thinking, Nan, why are you spending all my time with something that doesn't fit into my life and I'm not interested in? Hear me out. If even a part of this was something you added to your life by comparing what this offers to where you are now, how much dark leafy green and cruciferous vegetables, the highest nutritional density on the planet, how much of, maybe spirulina has a lot to offer, but most of us aren't eating that much. How different is what, this is what I had to say to myself, from your everyday meals, is this from where you were? I've been whole food plant-based for 6 years. I've been very strict about it. I've been proud of what it's done for me. It's done everything I needed it to the degree that I could have these antibodies and have no symptoms at all. Doctors saying to me, wow, you're really healthy, and being surprised. I just want to go for the my own personal trophy and get rid of those and know that I don't have something smoldering in the background. That's what's motivating me. Uh, and so I look at that and I say, why not integrate that into any diet? You could be, I was going to say a carnivore. No, that doesn't work. I won't even go there, but no. You could be an omnivore. You could be eating any combination of foods, raw or cooked, whole food or not. You could even be, I'm going to be so snitty here, you can even be poisoning yourself daily with what most Americans do, 60 to 65%. Can you hear the ire in my voice? 60 to 65% of your diet in processed and hyper-processed foods. They're not even foods. They're fake things that took a food, shredded it, took out parts of it, threw it together with chemicals and said, eat it. And we as Americans are filling ourselves almost 2/3 full of non-foods. In other words, you could even be doing that and add this or even half of this a day and see a change in your diet. That's what I'm talking about. From this point on, because I've done this strictly for 4 weeks, I even went to a conference and I brought my Vitamix because how was I going to get all that stuff in me otherwise? And I walked around the conference with my smoothie and the rest of the big carafe in little containers in the refrigerator of the room. And that was one of the ways I was able to stay on protocol completely for a 4-day period. Well, it happened to be at the International Plant-Based Healthcare Conference. And so all of their meals were fruits and vegetables, grains and legumes, seeds and nuts. And they were even SOS free, salt, oil, sugar free. So I came right in there with being able to eat lunches and dinners, but again, always raw, which meant I was rather segmented to what I could eat there. And I was 100% fine with it. The first thing I'll say is we're not going to do a thing, not one thing, unless we find purpose in it. I have a purpose. I have a determination. I promised myself when I, wrote my book 6 months before I turned 70 years old. That's almost 4 years ago. No, that's more than 4 years ago now. That my mission, because I had lived it as a lifestyle medical coach, was to pass on the word to people that we could live decades and decades longer and healthier than what we're seeing around us in our society into our 80s and 90s and beyond if we live with our focus on the most nourishing and the healthiest lifestyle we can, which we grow to enjoy and covet. I promised myself that. So my purpose is I better be able to do that. Why not get rid of what I think I can, or at least experiment with it? Because think of it. If this works well, my labs will tell me, even though I'll go another 6 weeks, if I see them much lower, and then I know I need to go lower than that. But that will give me the power to say, I've got something more for you. Whole food, plant-based lifestyle is medicine. But if you got something that every doctor tells you there's nothing you can do about, I got something you may want to try and know that it works. Anyway, that's my motivator. So let me just read to you. I'll just say my notes, because rather than just continuing to talk off the cuff, here we go. Yes, Dr. Brook Goldner's hyper-nourishing protocol can benefit most diets. The focus is on increasing nutrient-dense foods like raw vegetables, leafy greens, fruits, omega-3 seeds, which are chia and flax, and it's designed to flood the body with essential nutrients and to support healing, reduce inflammation, boost overall health, and to build the immune system. While it's often promoted as an autoimmune disease protocol, its principles enhanced by hydration, high intake of raw plant food, minimizing processed foods, eliminating processed foods, can complement various diets preferences, including vegan, vegetarian, omnivores, or anywhere you find yourself in between. Decades ago, Thomas Tadlock researched the value of omega-3 fatty acids, which is the plants, or which in plants comes from flax and chias or their oils. He found that omega-3 fatty acids cause vasodilation, which relaxes the blood vessels and helps the heart use less effort in pushing blood through the body, a result of which is relaxing stress and also increasing concentration. In addition, the brain utilizes omega-3s to rebuild and for basic function. They're also the primary raw material making up the myelin sheath throughout the nervous system. This is the layer of protein that coats our nerves and protects the nerve cells from being damaged or destroyed. What's more, omega-3 fatty acids, like those found in flax and chia, getting the message, can indirectly support gut health. Omega-3s have anti-inflammatory properties that promote a healthy gut environment, potentially aiding in the growth of beneficial bacteria that produce short-chain fatty acids, including butyrate, which is something that has been proven to even help eliminate or reduce the chances of Alzheimer's and dementia. Okay, by optimizing water, it keeps the entire process going. That's all I wanted to say. I wanted to encourage you to consider taking your health to a higher level with nothing more than the determination to increase the amount of raw, fresh, green, and cruciferous vegetables with fruit to add flavor. And then anything you want to do, unless you want to really knock something out of the park. And then you go with the full protocol, in which case use one of the links that I'm going to have below that will give you access to her materials. I'll have the links to the videos that I've run, which is just my own take on any given segment of this, but more important, her links to take you right to her channels. I learned so much by watching hours and hours and hours of her question and answer sessions that she does for an hour or more every Wednesday, 12:30 Pacific time, live on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, and reading her books. You can see I have them. And I'll say just doing a deep dive. I am so glad that I found her, and I can't help but sharing it with you. I hope you like this. If you did, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share it with others. Dr. Goldner has a huge following, and this may be helpful in some way to some who are working her protocol now or thinking about it. And I appreciate you. Have a great day, because I am. See you. Bye-bye. See you again soon, I hope.